Solomon, ball your baby dead. Solomon, ball your baby dead. Solomon, ball your baby dead. Solomon, ball your baby dead.
Beginning on February 1st, 1881, when France began excavation, until the spring of 1914, when the United States finished construction, almost 100,000 black West Indian laborers worked to build the Panama Canal. By the time the first vessel passed through the new waterway, 30,000 of those laborers had died. This is the story of those heroic black men. During the 5 years of construction, 5,000 black Jamaicans were among the various nationalities used as laborers. The French were paying their laborers $1 to $2 a day for 10 hours' work. By 1884, recruitment in the West Indies brought more than 20,000 black laborers to Panama, the majority coming from Jamaica. Not long after, the economy of the region collapsed into a depression. By the end of the French period, 25,000 laborers had died, and more than 6,000 West Indian workers and their families were left stranded in Panama. In September 1904, the United States began its monumental effort to build the canal. Less than 3,000 black laborers were used that first year. John Stevens, appointed chief engineer in 1905, felt that the Chinese and Spanish were better workers. Other officials wanted European laborers. But West Indians would remain the bulk of canal employees, and their work and dedication would later force a change in Stevens' view. In its search for workers, the United States established a recruiting center in the Caribbean.
They didn't contract anything. The governor, they wouldn't permit it because he wasn't satisfied with the conditions. So they turned over to Barbados.
The majority of contracted laborers sailed from Barbados. Blacks of all classes and skills joined the thousands of unskilled and unemployed in looking to Panama for relief from the economic distress plaguing all of the islands.
I wanted to get out. You know the reason why? It was things in Barbados. They wasn't paying you nothing. And even 10 cents an hour to come to Panama was better than to stay in Barbados. There had men in those days working, some of them working for a shilling a day, what you would call it 24 cents.
Each man hired signed a contract for a period of work lasting 500 days.
And when that contract is up, the government agreed to send them back to wherever they come from.
Each day of departure seemed a time of mass celebration as hundreds of kinfolks and friends gathered to see the men off.
You had a piece of canvas and you lay there and glad to have a piece of canvas. That was your bed for the trip into Colon. There was nothing special provided for nobody. Life was rough. You had to eat what you get, and no question about it. Many people died on that ship, on that passage from Barbados to Colon. But during your passage on the ship, those men who had provisions made of some kind for eating and the rest of it, they shared it with everybody. Everybody came by and had a bit of it. The ship made no special provisions for you. And that's the way we lived until we got to Colon.
There was no shelter from the sun or the rain. See, there were no trees then. When I got there was no trees. It would just be a place. And when the sun shines, you get it. When the rain falls, you get it. When the wind blows, you get it.
I worked in the canal in a gang called the railroad gang, move track and so forth.
The men then had to carry the dynamite to those places where other diggers were drilling the firing holes.
They have to drill these holes, you know, in the rock. And after they get down to a certain depth, they fill it with dynamite. See? And then they connect them together from hole to hole, hole to hole. Then they have a fuse box where they go and connect those wires there, just to make the sparks set them off. Then, when they are ready, they give you warning so that you go and take shelter.
While that shell is blowing, 2 meters, start the explosion. 3, 4, 5 places start to blast. And you see big rocks going up in the air. You see rocks going up in the air. What happens sometimes, somebody make a mistake and touch the wire. And that guy is gone up too.
Of the many accidents that did occur, the worst was Bas Obispo in December 1908.
It happened a Sunday morning when the pay car was there paying men. Pay car and all was in the explosion. And not two men, a couple of hundred men in that Bas Obispo explosion, a couple of hundred men. That you see bits of men here and the head yonder and oh, they were picking it up for days. Boy, that wasn't an easy day, I tell you. Sunday morning. Yeah.
Now that I am old, and sometimes I sit down there and these things, a recollection, you know, and what I went through on the Panama Canal, and I'm still alive. I raised my hands to God. I said, thank God, thank Him, because I could have been dead several times.
Down here, it was what we call in French, chacun pour soi, Dieu pour tout. That is Latin will mean each for yourself, but God for us all. And that's just the condition that existed here.
I remember a man by the name of Craig Weldon working up one of the steam shovels, and he was going home the next week for his daughter's wedding, and the steam shovel bucket come back and catch him up against the shovel and mashed it bare and flat.
It happened around here?
Right in Clevercut here, on the spot. Yeah. I witnessed that.
The slides became a major threat to the work, burying machines and twisting the tracks with rock and mud. Miraculously, work in the cut remained on schedule as the diggers fought the perilous slides, removing the new soil and replacing the tracks.
My name is Constantine Parkinson. I started work Panama Canal when I was a boy of 15 years of age. And I got a job in 1913 as a brakeman, carrying rock to dump in the West Breakwater. July 16, 1913, I got injured. I lost my right leg completely and a crushed left heel. My grandmother went to Governor Goethals. At that time he was colonel, and she asked him my grandson lose his foot and part of his heel, what compensation he going to get? Governor Colonel Goethe told her, my dear lady, Congress did not pass any law for aliens to get compensation when they lose. However, not to fret, your grandson will be taken care of as soon as he's able to work, even in a wheelchair.
William Gorgas, an Army doctor, is credited with determining the breeding habits of the malaria mosquito and bringing the disease under control. Throughout the early construction period, 1,000 laborers worked around the clock, pouring oil and spraying swamps and streams. Drainage ditches were dug, all dwellings were fumigated, and screens were installed. And a daily dose of quinine was given to everyone. A common bond united the entire canal workforce, a pride in being a part of this historic undertaking. But once the workday was done, the bond of unity was shattered by the law of segregation.
That discrimination came about by Americans, white Americans from the United States who worked on the canal along with foreigners like Negroes from the West Indies, principally to keep Negroes apart from the white people. And that was through the canal zone in its entirety.
After years of labor and the work improved, they started now to work on the locks.
My riveter, he has that gun, and I have to brace him against it, you know, so as he can hit that rivet with all the force. See? And when all those rivets are driven, tomorrow morning, they are checked on. A white man in a white suit and a white hat come down with his little tinker hammer. And he checked every rivet. But the most dangerous part of the work is when you have to work on a scaffold outside, what is known as a swinging scaffold. That is a scaffold that is suspended with ropes.
I just have to be looking out. When I just see a shadow just come down like that. And when I look out, I saw this man down below. Oh, the scaffold break away with him. And he went right down. And the plank down there with a spike, and the spike went right to his skull. Kill him dead, man. Kill him dead. Man, they used to die every day.
At a cost of $352 million, on August 15, 1914, the Panama Canal was officially opened. The world saluted the United States for its technological genius, and the chief engineer was hailed as a hero. Forgotten was the contribution of the diggers, 5,000 of whom died in that 10-year period.
Naturally, the West Indian workers resented this. And so in 1916, you had your first work stoppage or strike.
1917, the diggers attempted to organize themselves. Led by Samuel White, a proud digger of Jamaican background, they formed the first Silver Employees Association.